Hey guys, it's Rachel. It is Thankful Thursday. I'm sorry I didn't get a video up last week. I have just been really busy, and there's been a bit of personal stuff going on, which has been quite hard to manage, to be honest with you, so I just didn't quite feel up to making a video last week, and the week before I was attempting an assignment, so that's why I put a video I had already made. I re-uploaded a different video. Anyway, I'm here this week, and this week we are actually looking at alternative therapies. Sorry, my hair is just kind of having its own moment, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, so we're looking at alternative therapies. The two I want to discuss really, because we're doing this on a personal level, is the two I want to discuss are going to be writing as healing really, and also I'm going to look at art. I'm looking at two creative therapies really. Some of the other girls may have experienced different things. I have in my time in recovery, and you sometimes lose some of that when you're actually recovered, and you have to go back and remember some of the things that you did when things get a bit difficult. Are things to do with massage, reflexology, and that type of thing, and they are something that I've used as well. Indian head massage, which are just the most amazing things ever. So I have used those types of alternative therapies as well, and I know a lot of people do use those things. Going for something like a weekly massage, even though expensive, can really help a lot of people, and it's something that has helped me de-stress. And using things like essential oils, I still every night have a bath with oil and lavender, and that kind of just helps me unwind a little bit. So those types of things are incredibly positive. They also help get you in some sort of routine with regards to sleep. It's something very self-nurturing, very calming, and that type of alternative, therapy, as it were, it is a type of therapy because it's self-care, it's self-nurturing. Obviously the most obvious type of therapy is talk therapy. So if you can come home and do some things for yourself, such as doing those self-soothe activities, having a nice hot bath, doing the things that just relax you really, putting on a CD, listening to some classical music, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, and each of us has our own thing. With me, something that I tend to do when I'm using creative therapies is I do tend to have some sort of music on, which is quite soothing. I will light a candle, and I will allow the kind of scent to fill my room. That type of thing really helps me. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is writing as a way of healing, as an alternative therapy. It's something I've used for a long time. When you keep a journal or a blog, which is what most people do now, it's very easy to use the writing in what could be seen as quite a destructive way. That might not make a lot of sense to you, but I've got the book here, and I have recommended it a number of times, and it's Writing as a Way of Healing. Throughout the book, DeSalvo, she helps describe the ways in which writing can help us, and also the ways in which writing can hinder us. She offers activities for you to carry out yourself. She provides starting points for doing your own writing. An example is, let me have a look. Here you go. What you can do now after she has written about writing as a therapeutic process, and she just says you might begin a letter to someone. Can you transform it into a story, even a novel? What were your earliest stories, essays or poems like? Did you keep a diary? Do you have them? What do they tell you? Can you recall something early significant childhood memories? Can you write a sketch of your past? Are there any significant losses in your life you feel compelled to write about? Can you begin or sketch out the shape that this might take? What she does take into account is the fact that you might want to be in a sort of secure environment, as it were, so maybe have some people around you, or know that people are available, because sometimes our writing can trigger off a lot of very difficult emotions. And so while she sees the benefit of writing as something incredibly positive, she does highlight that it also can cause inner emotions to emerge. But the book itself is excellent, and before you maybe consider using writing as a way of healing, I would just read this book, because it does give you help with regards to starting, but it also does point out the places that it could potentially be quite difficult. A lot of people can write and keep a blog, keep a diary. I mean, I had diaries in the past when I was ill, and like nothing positive came out of them, because it was all kind of me just like ruminating over very difficult things. The exercises that she puts out, the writing that I do now, I tend to kind of have an area of focus, and what I try to do within my piece of writing, as you will see on my blog, I'm very real, I'm very honest about what's going on for myself, but what I try to do as I process that and as I write that is bring some closure to it. So I might open a piece of writing, my most recent piece was to do with a relationship. I might discuss some of the feelings that I'm having, how difficult some of those feelings are, and then what I would try to do before I close the post is take an angle that I would take if a friend was going through something similar, and I would use that to kind of bring in the positives, remind myself of my strengths, and close it in a way that is positive and not negative, which means that I then walk away from the piece of writing feeling better for having written it. Quite often we can splurt something out and not feel any benefit from it. By giving myself a kind of guideline when I write, it allows me to express very difficult emotions, express how I'm feeling, express my anger, my sadness, my pain, my joy, my happiness, and then close it and bring it back round. And I think that that's incredibly important when we're writing. I think it's nice to have a kind of focus. The other type of writing you can do is like a stream of consciousness, and that can be incredibly helpful, but what I will say to you is that when I've done that in the past, I've not looked initially straight back over it. I've done the piece of writing and then I've put it away, and I've done the piece of writing and put it away, and there was a point in my recovery where I'd give myself 15 minutes every morning and I would just write. I would just literally pick up a notebook and I would just write, and then, you know, fold it away, next day, just write. And then you can maybe return to that at some other point, but sometimes we just need to get things out. But ruminating over them isn't necessarily the best thing. So there are advantages and disadvantages to writing. I know some hospital programs do something called Creative Space, and that for me was about writing, and we were given worksheets and like a pointer to start, and it could be any of the exercises that I've recommended in the book. I can maybe find some resources and perhaps post them on my blog, some of the key ideas that I found helpful when I was in hospital with regards to using writing as healing, and it really did help me a lot, an awful lot, and it was actually what triggered me to really start writing. And the blog I have now, whilst I try and have it as a place that gives people support and inspiration, I also allow myself to be honest there as well, which is very difficult because I don't want there to seem like a contradiction, but you know, I do consider myself very much recovered, and I do subsequently, or being recovered doesn't mean that my mental health problems are still not an issue, basically, and I'm trying to come to terms with that at the moment. And so some of my writing is about me and my experiences of coming to terms with possibly having some sort of mood disorder, whatever that is. So I'm trying to use my writing in that same way, which is quite positive because it's something I can always go back to. It's something I will always have. No one can ever take my writing away from me. And having my blog and knowing I have almost a responsibility to other people as well has actually been incredibly helpful, and it makes me see the more positive thing. I also used to use, and I need to get back to that actually, I used to use cards, which, bear with me. Yeah, I'm in my Jack Quill. Okay, these are wisdom for healing cards. have a look here. Yeah, can you see? And let's say, for example, it will say, here we go. Okay, today's lesson is about reclaiming power. Okay, note one reason why you give away power in your everyday life, and then ask yourself if that situation is worth losing your peace of mind over. Your goal to reclaim your power in a positive and mindful way. Now, what I do with my writing is I say today's lesson and I write that out. I then consider a situation that is troubling me, and then I put my goal and I write about how I'm going to say reclaim that power in a positive and mindful way. That then ends up being a piece of writing which has made me address an issue in my life, explain how it is experienced, and then how I'm going to gain closure with it. And these in themselves have been a massive support for me, and I actually need to go back to them. They've been tucked away. So that is another way of coping, which is to do writing. The next one is art therapy. Now, I could waffle on for a really, really long time about art therapy. It has saved my life a million times over. When I was first hospitalised 9 years ago, I was basically mute, and it was the only way I had a voice. Art therapy is so effective, so helpful, so meaningful, and it is something that I do believe at some point everybody should have a go of if given the opportunity. I know it isn't always available, but it is something that I have found massively helpful, more so at times than therapy, as in talk therapy. It has been something that at times when I've been very poorly, I've had twice weekly art therapy sessions instead of normal therapy sessions because of how much it's helped me. It obviously also depends on the art therapist who you have, and if you can build a sort of safe relationship with them. So that's something that has again been incredibly helpful for me, and I have like a folder full of art therapy works. And along that note, this is my journal, which I have started this time. It was actually inspired by somebody who is in my self-help group, and I decided to take some of their advice rather than giving it. And I just bought this from Paperchase. It has all the paper in here, and what I've started to do, as you can see here, is just start to write really, and to draw and to sketch. And this is, I keep it by my bed. All my art materials are by the side of my bed, and it's just there. So what I will probably do after this video is sit down, put friends on, and probably do some sketching, and it is helping me massively because it helps me fill that gap. And when you don't really feel up to committing to too much else, it's something that distracts you, and it's actually really good fun to do, and I find it, like, because I get an end result that feels really positive to me. So they're my two things that I would suggest. With regards to the writing thing, start a blog, and if you're really struggling, just actually designing it and thinking about different things to put on it can actually be really helpful, and a couple of people in my self-help group have started blogs, and it's been a really positive experience for them. I'm going to go now, guys, because my time's nearly up, and I will see you next week. Okay, take care, keep fighting.